Let's start by storming Blackgate!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is obviously my review for the 2007 film Eastern Promises. So Eastern Promises turns 15 this year, which gives me a pretty darn good excuse to finally sit down and review this film for you guys. This is a film directed by David Cronenberg, the same director who gave us Videodrome, The Fly, Crash, and of course, History of Violence, which is a gangster film that he did shortly before this movie. We'll get into all that in a little bit, but this is also a film that stars Vincent Cassel, Naomi Watts, Viggo Mortensen. It's a film that when it came out 15 years ago, it had a lot of critical acclaim. It did really well in that regards. Audiences also really ate it up, and at the Oscars, it did pick up an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, which was Viggo Mortensen. Didn't have a snowball chance in hell, though, of course, because Daniel Day-Lewis was up that year for There Will Be Blood, so obviously, the Academy, they chose right by giving that to him. But that being said, I feel like these days, 15 years later, not many people talk about Eastern Promises, at least from what I've heard. And it's a shame because I'm just going to say right off the bat, I think that not only is it underappreciated these days, but I feel like it is one of the best gangster films for me personally. I really like Eastern Promises. It's a film that I saw at the beginning of 2016. I saw it at the library on DVD and I watched it, and I didn't really have any expectations going into it. I just figured I would watch it, and I was kind of struck by just how complex it was. In fact, I'm not going to lie, it was a little too convoluted for me the first time I saw it, but I couldn't really get it out of my head, and at the beginning of the pandemic, I looked up Eastern Promises because at that point I was still trying to watch all of David Cronenberg's films, but I wanted to revisit Eastern Promises, so I decided to pick it up on Blu-ray because I said to myself, what are the odds of it getting a 4K release? So I watched it a second time, and I really liked it, and I picked up on even more details. And then the third time I watched it, I showed it to a couple friends a couple months after that second viewing, and I really liked it even more. And then, of course, I heard the news that it was getting a 4K transfer, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Because I didn't think that it was going to. I thought, what are the odds of this smaller movie getting a 4K release? And here we are. So I watched it a fourth time a couple weeks ago, and it finally clicked on just how great the movie is. Again, all those other times I really liked it, but on 4K, this is, first of all, a great transfer, but secondly, it really showcases the dark, drenched lighting of the cinematography perfectly. The dark tone of this film also matches that, and I think that that's something that also is really good. And this is also a very complex film. Going back to the complexity is that you have three characters that you're focusing on. Naomi Watts' character, Vincent Cassel, and of course Viggo Mortensen. All three characters feel like lead performances. And that's what I love about the film, is that because all three of these characters are so fully fleshed out and all have to deal with a lot of the same themes and messages, it makes it really fully realized. Like, I love the fact that the theme of identity is focused on all three of these. I'm not going to spoil anything because I feel like going to this film knowing as little as possible is your best bet. But the theme of identity is so integral to this film, and I think that it works so well. From the first scene to the last scene, it just really gets hit home. And the opening scene really took me by surprise. It was something that I greatly appreciated, because even the fourth time I saw it, like, I thought that I was like, oh yeah, it ends up being like this, right? And it's like, oh no, shoot, that's really good directing. And that's the thing, Cronenberg, going back to what I was saying earlier, Cronenberg is someone that did A History of Violence, which was a couple years prior to this movie, and when History of Violence came out, I'm sure that a lot of people were like, wait a minute, why is someone that does body horror, why is he doing a gangster film? But History of Violence, and especially Eastern Promises, focus on bodies so much. I mean, let's think about Eastern Promises, the famous bathhouse scene. That scene is very integral in terms of dealing with bodies. Tattoos are very important to some of the characters that are in the mob and everything of Eastern Promises. So it's definitely something that I think was a smart choice of having Cronenberg do Eastern Promises, because he brings body horror to this so well, from the actual bodies to then the horror, where he likes to focus on a lot of blood. And Eastern Promises does have certain sequences that are very bloody, and because he's a director that is very much so interested in that, he does it so well. And when the blood gushes, it's very visceral feeling. And I really like that. I like the fact that we have a director that knows what he's doing. Cronenberg's directing here is top notch. I mean, Gangster films, let's face it, we know them as something that are oftentimes 3 hours. But Eastern Promises, he directs it in a way that 100 minutes, not only does it fly by, but it flies by in a way that you feel as though by the end, as if you watched a 3-hour epic, because of just how much information is getting thrown our way. And I liked that. I really liked that. And also the technical aspects. I mentioned the cinematography, but Howard Shore's score is so intimate, so personal, that you can tell that it was a score that he put all his effort into. He did such a great job. The sound mixing also is really well done. I think that it's so, also going with the score, simplistic, but also so personal feeling. When there's certain sequences where, obviously like violence occurs, it gets amped up in a way that it feels like really visceral feeling, going with the imagery that's on display. That's something that I really liked. The other thing going back is that I think the rewatchability value of this film is very high. As you can tell, I've seen this movie 4 times. It's a film that I just feel like keeps on giving. And for me, that's important. Don't get me wrong. There's certain films out there where it's like, yeah, 1 or 2 viewings, that's all you need, because it's so hard to watch, and it's like maybe it's a one and done kind of feel. But Eastern Promises, I like the fact that it has that rewatchability value. I feel like it gives it that impact even more so, and that you can showcase it to other viewers and they'll be able to appreciate it as well. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I like the fact that with gangster films, we so often see the Italian mob, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong, that's fine. But here, focusing on the Russian mob, and in particular, the details behind the scenes of this film, having it where they looked it up and they said, oh, they use knives a lot of times. And why do they use knives? Here's the interesting part. The reason why they use knives, apparently based on the research, was that if they were to get caught by the cops and everything, they could say, oh, we use it for like linoleum, like the knives. And I said to myself, that's really smart. That's really good. I'm glad that they did that, because honestly, I feel like that in itself, that little detail really makes it even more personal, because it means that when they are trying to kill, they're trying to strike and they have to get even up close, which again gives it that personal feeling. So stuff like that I really like about Eastern Promises. Overall, it's a great film. I really, truly mean that. I think it's a film that if you haven't seen Eastern Promises, please check it out. And not only is it one of David Cronenberg's best films, it is one of the best films of 2007 and of the 2000s. And I would say definitely check it out. Eastern Promises is a fully realized crime gangster film that is so well done, and it has to be seen. And that's why, for me personally, Eastern Promises, I will be giving a... So yeah, guys, Eastern Promises, did you like it? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have any questions about spoilers, ask away down in the comment section down below. Of course, I don't like talking about spoilers in my reviews themselves, but you can ask away down below. And as always, guys, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.